Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Shri Srimad 𝐃𝐢𝐬𝐭𝐫𝐚𝐜𝐿 Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Maharaj ki Shri Ganesai ki all glory to Sri all glory to Sri all glory to Sri all glory to Sri Guru Sri Guru Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya 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 Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. As we're not reading I have 11 canto with me, so I've just selected a verse, three verses that describe the primary and secondary disciplinary principles. This is Kṛṣṇa speaking to Uddhava, his cousin. In this he has listed primary disciplinary principles and secondary disciplinary principles. The Lord has listed 24 points that he wants all of us to cultivate, especially the Russian devotees. So when you hear them, we'll only discuss it provided you agree to try and cultivate them. Okay? Okay, we don't have a daska, we don't have a board, so I'm just in the Sanskrit. Shri Bhagwan Vacha Hemsa Satya Asteya Asango Devi asanchaya astekyam brahmacharya monam sthayam samadhyam. It reminds you of the 26 qualities of a devotee, isn't it, this verse? Our Lord Chaitanya spoke to Sanatana Goswami. Okay, Ishwadva Shlok speaking. Socham Japa Tapo Homa Shradhatya Man Archana Tirthatana Artheha Tushtir Acharya Sevana Ete Yama Sa Niyama Bhaya Vadasa Smrita Pumsam Upashita Tata Yatha Kama Duhanti Hi. Okay, so we won't do the Sanskrit of all three. We'll just do the Sanskrit of the first verse. Okay? Shri Bhagwan Vacha Ahimsa Satyam Asteyam Sango Hi Asanchaya Astikyam Brahmacharyam Cha Monam Sthayam Kṛṣṇam Ochin Kṛṣṇa. There's no words on the board, still did it so nicely. Yes. On the first line you got 100% marks. Because that was Sri Bhagwan Vacha. On the second whole line it was over 90%. And on the fifth line it came down to about 50%. Okay, Ishwaras. Shri Bhagwan Vacha Ahimsa Satyam Asteyam Sango Hi Asanchaya Astikyam Brahmacharyam Cha Monam Sthayam Kṛṣṇam Shri Bhagwan Vacha Ahimsa Satyam Asteyam Sango Hi Asanchaya Astikyam Brahmacharyam Cha Monam Sthayam Shamabhayam Shri Bhagwan Vacha Ahimsa Satyam Asteyam Sango Hi Asanchaya Astikyam Brahmacharyam Cha Monam Sthayam Kshamabhayam Om Jnantimirandasya Dhyananjana Shalakya Chakshuraparitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobrishtam Sargamena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaya Dadati Swavatikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamam Shri Gurun Vaishnavansha Shri Rupam Sarajatam Samagana Laguna Tanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Samabhutam Prijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhantam Sam Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dīnabandhu Jagatpate Gopesa Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namosute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishvānu Sudhidevi Pramani Hanite Vancha Kalpa Tavyascha Vipāsinuvhevacha Aitam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavino Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasti Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Sadhguru said, Lord Shri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is instructing Sri Uddhava about essential principles of spiritual life. This chapter is called The Perfection of Spiritual Knowledge. In other words, these instructions that we are going to discuss today constitute the perfection of spiritual knowledge. We see in the scriptures the different devotees are asking questions and obtaining clarification and guidance. Just like over here, Uddhava is asking questions. Uddhava said, please describe, my dear Lord, how many types of disciplinary regulations there are. He says, please tell me what is real self-control, tolerance, equilibrium of mind, what is charity, heroism, what is renunciation, what is knowledge. So, Uddhava is asking questions to which the Lord is replying. Just like in the Bhagavad Gita we see, that Arjuna is asking questions and the Lord is clarifying and replying. Elsewhere in the Bhagavatam you see Parikshit Maharaj inquiring and GKG Goswami replying. The sages questioning Sutta Goswami and Sutta Goswami replying. So to ask questions is not something embarrassing, but we need to ask questions from the right source to get the right answers. Just like, suppose you have to do some medical surgery. You just don't catch hold of any man and tell him to do the surgery. You want to make sure you have the best qualified doctor to do the surgery. Similarly, we need to get information and clarification from the right source. So as I said earlier, Kṛṣṇa in these three verses explains first 12 essential disciplinary principles that we should all cultivate. Then he describes 12 additional regular prescribed duties. So try and understand. Kṛṣṇa on the one hand is explaining 12 disciplinary principles, and further he is explaining 12 regulative duties that everyone pursuing spiritual life must have. So this is very interesting, because Kṛṣṇa is giving us disciplinary principles plus duties that we must execute. Actually, this discussion is taking place in the 19th chapter of the 11th canto. Of course, the points mentioned in this verse have been covered in other verses of the Bhagavatam and the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Since the Chaitanya Charitamrita was compiled 500 years ago, many verses or many philosophical points from the Bhagavatam, from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, are based on points from the Bhagavatam. In fact, in many places in the CC, the Bhagavatam verses are directly quoted. So when it comes to 12 primary disciplinary principles, Kṛṣṇa mentions the following 12. The reason I selected this verse, these two verses, is because the subject matter of these verses is also a subject matter for an Ishtagoshti with devotees. So the first thing he says is ahimsa. So what does ahimsa mean? Non-violence. Okay, everyone knows that. So devotee is supposed to be non-violent. Non-violence means that he doesn't want to harm any living entity, even an ant. Just like you read in the first canto, how Jat Bharat would not even keep his feet on the ground till he saw that at least for the next 3 feet there was no living entity on the ground. Now this is one aspect of non-violence, not wanting to hurt any living entity. Now in the Isha-Upanishad it is said that if one is not pursuing spiritual life, he becomes his own enemy or killer of the soul. So you can never kill this. You can never kill the soul, since the soul is eternal. But Atmahana means one who fails to understand the real goal of life, that's becoming his own enemy. So when we deviate from the spiritual path, we become our own enemy. You don't have to look for an enemy very far. We become our own enemy when we don't act for our spiritual goal. So one of the disciplinary principles is to avoid violence. Then the Lord says, Satyam. What does Satyam mean?
Truthfulness.
Truthfulness. Truthfulness is one of the essential disciplinary principles. In the Bhagavad Gita 17th chapter, Krishna describes the austerity of the body, tongue and mind. And in describing the austerity of the tongue, Krishna explains to be truthful. So to be truthful is to describe a Krishna to be one of the austerities of the tongue. Why? Well, the tongue is so used to lying that when we have to speak the truth, it's an austerity. We're so used to lying that Krishna says the austerity of the tongue is to be truthful. So, truthfulness is one of the 4 essential ingredients of religion also. What are the other ingredients of religion? Austerity, then mercy and cleanliness. So truthfulness is one of the 4 legs of religion. So, an important element of spiritual life is to be truthful. The beginning of truthfulness is being truthful to the instructions of the Lord as they're coming down to the disciplic succession. Then extension is being truthful to the spiritual path. At least in dealing with Vaishnavas, one should be very true. So, truthfulness may sometimes be difficult, but we should be truthful. At least when it comes to dealing with Vaishnavas on spiritual principles. Prabhupada in the Gita says, every businessman says, from you I make no profit, I'm giving you a special deal. So that is not untruthfulness. But untruthfulness is deviating from the instructions and deviating from the spiritual path and one of the truthful in dealing with Vaishnavas. Not converting or stealing the properties of others. Asteyam. Asteyaka means not to be stealing other people's property. Why do people steal properties? Do they steal things in your country? It's everywhere people steal these days. They're not satisfied. In the Bhagavatam first canto, you also have Bhismadev's instructions. And Bhismadev, in listing 10 points, he has also included this point as a guideline to humanity. So not stealing others' property is also an essential principle. Often we see in mature life, you see that when somebody else has something which you don't have, you become envious and you begin to aspire for that. Yeah? But Srinivasa Pandit has given us very good advice on this point. He says, deal with others the way you want others to deal with you. We want everyone to deal with us nicely. So he said, you deal with others nicely. Then, look upon every other woman except your wife as your mother. Then, look upon everyone else's property as garbage. So if you look upon others' property as garbage, then even if it is an attractive property, you're not going to get bewildered. So, if you look, you don't get attracted to garbage, do you? Then detachment. Asanga means detachment. Now our principle is detachment from what is negative and attachment to what is positive. The Mayavadis also believe in detachment, but in the name of detachment, they renounce everything, saying everything is false, mithya. Rupa Goswami gave us the perfect principle of detachment, known as the principle of Yukta Viragya. What does Yukta Viragya mean? Genuine renunciation. And what is genuine renunciation? Using things in the service of the Lord. So, detachment means you give up what is detrimental for spiritual attachment, for spiritual advancement, but maintain what is necessary for spiritual advancement. Just like to facilitate Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada accepted so many things for the first time. Bhakti said, Thakur Bhakti, Bhakti-siddhanta was the first great acharya who ever sat in a car. Before that, no one would even sit in a car. Where would we have been if our acharyas had not started sitting on cars? Bhakti Bhakti-siddhanta was the first acharya who sat in a car, and Prabhupada was the first acharya who flew by plane. So, Yukta Viraga is a principle where you detach yourself, or you detach from what is negative and get attached to what is positive. We don't detach ourselves from something that is positive. If something can be used in service of Kṛṣṇa, just saying this is mithya or false, we don't give it up. So, genuine detachment is using everything in service of the Lord. Then humility is another important principle. We've heard of humility many times, almost every day in the class you hear about the importance of humility. Lord Chaitanya described 6 principles of Shanagati to Sanatana Goswami. What does Shanagati mean? To take shelter. Of whom? Of Krishna. So in the 6 principles of surrender, first is to accept everything favorable for spiritual advancement. Next is to give up what is unfavorable. Next is to understand that Krishna is your protector. No one except Krishna can be your protector. To have faith that Krishna and no one else can protect you. This is the 4th. 5th is to make our desires consistent with the desires of the Lord. And the 6th is humility. So here again, humility is being mentioned. He mentions humility as one of the primary disciplinary principles. So, humility has also been emphasized by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Which is that famous verse of Sikshastra where humility is emphasized? And what does Krishnadas Kaviraj say we should do with this verse? Wear it next to your neck beads. Tie it going on around your neck. So you don't forget the importance. There's a nice story that one of Prabhupada's godbrothers told us on this point. The story is related to Prabhupada. So Prabhupada at one time manufactured a drug tonic. And he told his godbrother, I've developed this new formula for a health tonic. Prabhupada's godbrother said, Abhi Babu, this is not what I want. I want a tonic to develop love of God. So Prabhupada very humbly said, I know the formula, but the medicine's not ready as yet. The formula to develop love of God. So his godbrother insisted, okay, tell me the formula. Prabhupada very humbly said, I know the formula, but the medicine's not ready as yet. So he insisted. And then Prabhupada gave the formula, which was So, humility is an essential principle of spiritual life. And an important aspect of humility is to offer respect to others without expecting anything in return. So many times devotees want to know, how can I develop humility? How can I develop determination? This can all be developed by attentive execution of the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. The attentive chanting of the holy name is capable of helping you develop all these spiritual qualities. So, for all of us, this humility and tolerance should be important qualities to cultivate. Just like Krishna describes tolerance to be, he describes tolerance to be happily enduring even unhappiness. Even when there's some unhappiness in life, one is tolerant, he happily endures it. King Kunti and the Pandavas had to go through so many difficulties.
Царице Кунти и всем пандавам пришлось претерпеть много разных испытаний.
But she happily underwent these difficulties.
Но они с радостью принимали все эти трудности и испытания.
So, humility and tolerance go together. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.